And welcome everyone to our monthly meeting. At this point, I'd like to call on the superintendent for her opening remarks.
Thank you,
Mrs.
President
Costello.
Angel. Good evening, everyone. As a reminder, September is Attendance Awareness Month. Regular school attendance, of course, is vital to student success. When students attend regularly, starting as early as pre-K, they have an opportunity to thrive academically. Research shows that when students are chronically absent, missing 10% or more of the school year or 18 days over an entire year, they are less likely to read proficiently by third grade, achieve in middle school, and graduate from high school. LPSS and its community partners are excited to announce that the Lincoln Learn Wi-Fi network is up and running. This approximately 2-mile pilot project extends our district's filtered academic network to hundreds of homes near Northside High School, J.W. Falk Elementary, and David Thibodeau STEM Magnet Academy. Students are encouraged to utilize this resource anytime to meet their academic needs. We'd like to thank the Pew Family Foundation, the William C. Schumacher Family Foundation, and Love Our Schools for their funding support of this and other innovative initiatives. Last week, we broke ground at the location of the new Truman Early Childhood Education Center and celebrated the opening of Acadiana High's David J. Cavalier Athletic Fieldhouse. On Friday, we will officially break ground on the new Prairie Elementary School, as well as celebrate the opening of the Scott Middle School cafeteria. We are pleased to officially have these projects complete or underway. The annual Magnet Academy Showcase will be held Saturday, September 17th from 9 until 12 p.m. at the Cajun Dome Convention Center. Families interested in exploring the various magnet and career academies are invited to attend to gain more information about program opportunities. I would like to congratulate the following students for a spot as a top soloist at the Louisiana State Virtual Recital. From Lafayette High School, Isaac Kim, Abigail Valentin, Luke Ashurst, Alan Trahan, and Maxence Cassetta. From LJ Alamo Middle School, Jonas Johnson, Charles Miller, and Ethan Meir. As a reminder to families, students will not attend school on Wednesday, September 21st, due to a parish-wide district in-service. Thank you, President Angel.
Yes, ma'am. Moving along to the next item on the agenda, we're going to recognize a couple of folks who want to say a few words concerning their candidacy. I just want to point out that the procedure that we follow here is when someone calls and asks to speak concerning an upcoming election, we here at the school board office make an effort to reach out to everyone that's running for that position so that we want to make sure that everyone has an equal opportunity to say hello and to introduce themselves. And without any further ado, I would like to recognize Mr. Holden Hoggett. Mr. Hoggett.
Thank you, Chairman Angel. Thank you to the members of the school board for having me this evening. I'll try to be brief because I know you have more important business. Thank you to Ms. Trosclair, the superintendent, as well. My name is Holden Hoggett. I'm running to serve as your representative as a United States Congressman for Louisiana's 3rd District. I think it's time for change. I think we can do better. And I won't go into it since I promised to be brief, but I'm a father myself. I'm married to Julie Schumacher Hoggett. My kids go to ESA, and I feel very blessed that they're around. I know that the teachers and the other students make such a huge difference in their lives. And my pledge to you is that if I have the honor of serving, I will be a federal partner. I do work for the Department of Agriculture, legal work, mostly on the legal side, of course, but I also follow policy closely, and I know how important SNAP is, and it's my understanding that the school board was successful in building Southside High using grant funding in whole or in part, and that's the type of system and process, the grant application and then execution process that I look forward to working with you on. I hope to earn your support, and if you have any questions, you can go online at hoggettforcongress.com. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. At this time, we'd like to introduce Tia LeBrun. Ms. LeBrun?
Bonsoir, Monsieur le Président du Board et les autres membres, et Madame le Superintendent. I'm Tia LeBrun. A lot of you already know me already in this room because I served as the World Language Supervisor for 6 years. Before that, I was a French teacher in Lake Charles and Sulphur for 12 years. And I'm originally from Houma, Louisiana. I'm a member of the United Houma Nation. And I am looking forward to relieving Mr. Higgins of his duties in November. We have currently a legislator who is the 5th most absent person for votes and who voted against our hurricane recovery dollars. I don't plan to be someone who's going to vote on a party line. I want to represent my communities, and I am familiar with public education and the needs that lie therein. So I'm hoping to earn your confidence and to earn your vote in November when the election comes up. And my youngest child is here with me tonight as my support system. She follows me around to all of my events. I have 6 children altogether and 4 grandkids, so I'm very family oriented, and I don't plan to be easily bought by anyone. My opinion will be in their best interest and yours. So thank you, and I hope that you will look me up at lebrunforlouisiana.com.
Merci bien, madame. I would also like to acknowledge Mr. Tyrone Glover, who is here with Congressman Clay Higgins' office, Mr. Glover. He just wanted to say hello and acknowledge his presence. Thank you, Mr. Glover. Okay, moving along, Love Our Schools giveaway program, Mrs. Trosclair.
Thank you, President Angel. At this time, I'd like to introduce Miss Missy Manuel. She, along with her husband, Greg Manuel of Manuel's Builders, are our gracious, wonderful community partners who have donated the home in the Love Our Homes project, the home giveaway that we are reaching the deadline for, along with Mr. Rodney Savoy and his wife of Correct Farms, who donated the property. But Missy and that entire group of Manuel's Builders, she and her husband, absolutely have been wonderful partners to LPSS, and I want to give her an opportunity this evening to speak for a bit. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank y'all so much for having me. I'll be really brief. We're excited about the Love Our Schools home. We donated the home to benefit the public school system, and we are partnering with Love Our Schools. So we just knew Love Our Schools was really, they love the kids and they are very innovative and they want to invest in the community and the kids. So we partnered with them. We wanted to give away a house, and so it worked out for all of us. Mr. Rodney Savoy donated the lot, and so we did build a house, and we are going to raffle it off on September 21st. Ticket sales stop September 18th. And we're just excited. We're so thankful for the welcoming, everyone embraced us, and this project it was unbelievable the way they embraced us. And we just thank you for your leadership with the school board, and we're excited about it. Anything you can do to help us sell tickets, portion of the tickets goes to the schools when they pick the school, and funds go to Love Our Schools to be reinvested in the public school system. So thank you again. I just wanted to personally thank you and let you know how excited we are to partner with Love Our Schools. And we've had our trades. It's been a really good team builder, got the community really involved, which is so exciting for us. And our trades donated some of their labor. The vendors time and labor and materials. And so it's been a real good project for us, and we just thank y'all for it.
Thank you, ma'am. Please know that it is we who are also very thankful for what you and all of the Love Our School folks do. We appreciate Mr. Manuel and the business and whatever y'all are doing for us. We appreciate it. An update on African American studies, Mr. Broussard.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to first thank the Ms. Trustclair and the administration, especially Dr. Mark Robley, for taking on the task to introduce to our students and everyone else the African American studies. Last year we had 2 schools, I think it's Edgar Martin and Lafayette Middle, who was offering the African American studies. This year we have 8 schools, including most of the high schools. Total of over 200 students in the classes. And thank you so much for putting that, for taking it and running with it. It's something that I think is going to benefit all the students of Lafayette Parish. The history, everyone's history is important. And I think when you learn the history of the African American contribution to the schools, to the city of Lafayette, to the parish of Lafayette, state of Louisiana, and the U.S. as a whole, it would make us a better person. We have lost our, I don't know, our direction, and we need to get that back. On Thursday, when we did our groundbreaking ceremony, I mentioned that as we turn the dirt for the new school, we're not burying our history. So I would encourage every school in the parish of Lafayette to look up their history, and if they can see some of the founding fathers or the people that went before them, for the present teachers and administrators, and add that to their school, because there's a lot of history to be had. But thank you ever so much for taking that on, and I guess our job is never complete until we include every school, every student, but we're certainly at a running start, and thank you ever so much.
Thank you, Mr. Broussard. Employee services, introduction of new administrative employees.
Good afternoon, well, good evening to Ms. Trostclair, to the board. I have the pleasure of introducing Ms. Sarah Clavel this evening. Ms. Sarah Clavel is the new assistant principal at Alice Boucher Elementary School. Ms. Clavel has 15 years of experience as an educator. She holds a bachelor's of music education in K through 12 from Webster University and a master of education in educational leadership from Northwestern State University. Ms. Clavel has taught vocal music at Northside High School, vocal music at Austin Elementary School, and has most recently served as the instructional leader at Woodvale Elementary School. Ms. Clavel knows that as the assistant principal at Alice Boucher, she will make it her mission to drive and support the principal's strategic vision, and her goal will be to create a positive, achievement-focused school culture for teachers, staff, and students. Ms. Sarah Clavel, assistant principal at Alice Boucher Elementary.
Good evening. I am honored to be here tonight among my peers, leaders, and all stakeholders. It is said that great leaders don't set out to be leaders. They set out to make a difference. It's never about the role, always about the goal. My goal has always been to share my passion for learning and growth and have a part in helping to build an equitable place for others to bloom. With much to learn, I would like to thank the board Superintendent Trosclair, and my principal, Ms. Coleman. I would also like to thank my previous principals and coworkers from Northside, Austin, and Woodvale Elementary. And my daughter would fuss at me if I forgot to thank my beautiful family. This role will come with many challenges, but I will face each challenge with a growth mindset to find solutions. I will continue to work with others to teach, advocate, and encourage, and most importantly, learn. I am ready to meet each day with honesty and courage. I am excited to work with the students, teachers, administrators, and leadership team in Alice Boucher Elementary. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you, and we wish you well. Item 2.4, construction, guaranteed maximum price amendment number 2 for the new Carencro Heights Elementary School project. Mr. Brew?
Good evening, Board President, General Board, Superintendent Trosclair, and community. My name is Joseph Brew, Director of New Construction Projects for Lafayette Parish Schools. I'm here to introduce the item for new Carencro Heights Elementary School, the final guaranteed maximum price. Without getting too far into this, I want to introduce the team members who are here. I want the architectural team to recognize yourselves by standing. The architects are Bara Architects, and I see both of the members there, and Sam Herping representing the architectural firm RHH, their consulting architect. They've done an excellent job of getting us to this point and helping us with the value engineering to get the price really nice and sweet. The contractor representative is JB Muta. And I want to thank the board for the very first GMP, the early release package, that gave us an opportunity to get started. In spite of the terrible weather that we've been experiencing recently, we've still been able to make progress. And the project is on track to open up in November of 2023. And that's the schedule. And hopefully we can adhere to that. With the approval of the final GMP, we will complete the project using the final GMP as the benchmark of a not to exceed price. So we want to adhere to that. And also the phase 1 that we've already approved, that you already approved for us, that was not in addition to the no additional funds or monies were asked of the project. It just combines into the final GMP. That number is still the same. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Brew. All right, we'll move on to the consent agenda. I'll read the agenda item, and if you want it pulled, please indicate. Item 3.1, administration discussion and or action concerning an amendment to the high school dress code guidelines in the 2022-2023 student parent handbook. 3.2, discussion or action concerning resolution 922-2040, adoption of reapportionment plan A. I'm sorry. You want to pull 3.2? All right. Sure. 3.3, employee services, discussion and or action concerning school resource officer supplemental pay rates. 3.4, employee services, discussion and or action concerning a revision to the supplemental pay rate section of the 2022-2023 salary schedule for teachers, substitute, bus drivers, supplemental pay.
Pull that, please.
Pull 3.4. 3.5, facilities, discussion or action concerning servitudes at Edgar Martin Middle School. 3.6, discussion and or action concerning a budget revision for the North Side High Boys Gym Bleachers Replacement Project. 3.7, discussion or action concerning the budget to actual for August 2022. 3.8, finance. Discussion or action concerning the 2021-2022 budget revisions, final for applicable funds. 3.9, discussion and/or action concerning the Louisiana Compliance Questionnaire for fiscal year 2022. 3.10, finance. Discussion and/or action concerning resolution 08-22-2037 and adoption of millage rates for 2022. 3.11, discussion and/or action concerning resolution 9-22-2039, preliminary approval of the issuance of bonds, $190 million sales tax revenue bonds. 3.12, discussion and/or action concerning the appointment of special counsel resolution 9-22-2038. 3.13, finance, discussion or action concerning the appointment of a financial advisor. For 3.14, new construction, discussion and/or action concerning an intergovernmental agreement with Lafayette Consolidated Government regarding a new lift station for the new Prairie Elementary School and future proposed residential developments. 3.15, transportation, discussion and/or action concerning RFP 20-23, school bus cellular live video streaming. 3.16, discussion and/or action concerning the minutes of August 10th, 2022. All right, if there's no other items, we pull item 3.2 and item 3.4.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion that we approve all items not pulled.
We have a motion to approve all items not pulled,
I'll second.
and a second by Mrs. Morrison. Any discussion from anyone in the audience concerning any items that were not? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, great school board. Stephanie Skinner Touchette. I'm here about 3.9, the Finance Louisiana Compliance Questionnaire. I don't know what that is, but I don't like the word compliance, and I don't want it to be like a federal government thing, because there's, I'm not sure what it is, what kind of questionnaire it is, but I don't want to be blackmailed by the federal government, because I've heard the Biden administration is doing all kinds of things like withholding food money if we don't implement certain trans agendas for our preschoolers and things of that nature. So I want to make sure that it's nothing like that, because we don't comply. We're the Bible Belt, and we worry about our kids, and we come together around our kids, because the Biden administration is doing all kinds of stuff. Even before Biden, we have the United Nations coming in our school with UNESCO, and Communist China coming in our school with all kinds of bad agendas. So it's time we come together and protect our kids. And I don't like the word compliance, because we have each other locally.
Thank you, ma'am. Do we have any other comments concerning items not pulled? If any comments from members of the board? Yes, sir, Mr. Centeni.
I'll read I'm going to say something about one of the other items, but to Ms. Touchette's comment, the agenda item says, on an annual basis, the Louisiana Legislative Auditor requires all municipalities and local governing boards to complete and adopt the Louisiana Compliance Questionnaire. The questionnaire is a required part of our financial audit, and its purpose is to document whether we complied with state laws. Once adopted by our governing board, the questionnaire will be used by our external auditors at the beginning of the financial audit. And then I wanted to just make a general point to the school board itself. Tonight we're approving the resolution to go to the State Bond Commission to sell the sales tax revenue bonds to finance the construction of the 3 schools, 2 of which are already kind of underway, given we've approved the guaranteed maximum price, and we had some cash that we've saved over the last 5 years to be able to get the project started. My sincere thanks to each and every one of you for the financial responsibility and the financial management that you've demonstrated over the last 5 years. Some of you have come on in the interim, and you've picked up the ball and run with it the same as your predecessors. You've managed to get us through a pandemic with completely uncertain revenues. You've managed to get us through a period of heavy inflation where we're fighting. I know our architects and our builders right now are going to chuckle when I say fighting, because I know y'all are clawing tooth and nail with an inflationary environment where, you know, you have 7-month plus lead time on steel. Everybody involved in building these 3 schools, thank you very much. It's been a long road, and I'm just so excited that the decisions that we've made over the last 5 years, the decisions, the leadership for the superintendent, and the work of our contractors, our architects, and our construction team, are finally leading to dirt being turned on these campuses. It's just very, very exciting. So thank you. I just wanted to mention that.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions or comments from members of the board? If not, I'll call for the vote. Madam Secretary. Motion carries. We'll move on to the first item pulled, which is 3.2. Discussion on action concerning Resolution 922-2040, adoption of reapportionment plan, Plan A.
Mr. President,
I'm sorry.
do you want me to make a motion?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that the board adopt the amended reapportionment Plan A as proposed.
And that's the second by Mr. Latchley. Thank you very much, Ms. LeBou. On the discussion, Mike, you want to make a few points or answer maybe questions?
Yeah, if you don't mind, Mr. President. We had at our last workshop, we had developed collectively Plan 2. Since that time, we had a couple of changes with some precinct swaps between District 6 and 8. I wrapped those in to formalize Plan 2 now as Plan A, which was sent out earlier this week. Since that time, we've had some discussion between board members with regards to their districts. So Plan A amended actually is swapping some precincts. I'm just going to kind of recap what they are. Between Districts 4 and 6, they agreed to put Precinct 72 from District 4 into District 6. That's around the UPA apartments area. And then between Districts 3 and 4, Mr. Broussard and Mr. Chasson, they wanted to swap a couple of precincts around, try to get the numbers a little bit tighter. So the north half of Precinct 17, north of Martin Luther King, would go into 3. The south part of 17, or the remainder, would go into 4, along with Precinct 52. And to help rebalance that, Precinct 57 and 54 would go from District 4 to District 3. So that balances out their numbers, their minority numbers. They're at 61.79 for 4 and 60.18 for District 3. So they're looking good. Deviations are looking good. We also had some discussions between 7 and 8. The concern was that Plan A actually was taking Como High School physically out of District 7. And it was actually, since most of that feeder zone is in District 7, we wanted to try and see what needed to be done to do that. We were able to accomplish that. We swapped Precinct 94 out of District 8 and put it in District 7. And to offset that, we took Precinct 128 and 104 out of District 7 and put it in District 8. That is an agreement between Districts 7 and 8. And my understanding is that the swaps we have that I discussed a minute ago between 3, 4, and 6 are all agreeable among those members. So Plan A amended will have these changes in it if approved by the board. And what I'll do is update the resolution to reflect the changes in the district descriptions and get that to you for your signature, Madam Superintendent. Any questions?
Yes, sir, Mr. Centeni.
Can you give for people watching at home, kind of a geographic description of the precincts that changed? You said, Girard Park is 72 or 70, it's 72, right?
Correct.
Can you give a description of 128 and just so people at home who may be in those precincts and not realize it?
Sure. Well, obviously 94 is the precinct where Como is. So that includes Quail Hollow in that area right there. That's that precinct. 128, let me pull up some areas. 128 is going to be looking at La Nouvelle Road on the north border, Youngsville Highway to the east, and Ambassador Caffrey to the south, and over to La Nouvelle Road again. So it makes that, encompasses that area, and then also the area south of Ambassador Caffrey to Youngsville Highway, and then it'll follow Fortune Road across. That's following that precinct boundary all the way up to Verrott School Road. So those two precincts, kind of making up that square, would go into 8 to relieve the population at 7. And as y'all know, the population growth in 7 and 9 have really been driving most of the plan, because we've had a lot of population that's had to come out of that area, and y'all have had to share it, and it's been having a domino effect throughout the whole plan. But this rebalances everything. Everything looks good as far as the numbers go. Still in compliance with the Voting Rights Act and state statutes.
You have a question, Ms. Morrison?
Yes, Mike, I noticed with the new maps, District A, Acadiana High is in District 1, and I was wondering if we could keep Acadiana High in District 5 where it is currently, because in District 5, their numbers are low, and my numbers in District 1 are high. I think I'm at 2.7, and District 5 is at 2.1 or 2.2.
2.7, yeah, you're -2, and he's at 5 is at a +2. I don't think we can take that whole precinct, but just give me 1 minute to take a look at it, if you don't mind. Acadiana High is actually in precinct 32. So if I took that entire precinct, that's going to add probably too many people. That will put District 5 at a +12% deviation and District 1 at a -12, and we're trying to keep it around a ±5. So we would have to have an offset to that if we included that entire precinct. I was thinking while y'all are having your meeting, maybe see what happens if a precinct, maybe precinct 35 was swapped off, and I don't even know if it's going to work, but just give me 1 minute. See if that'll work. If not, I may be able to take a split precinct on 32. No, that's still going to put y'all out, so that won't work. So if you don't mind, give me a minute, and I will see about splitting that precinct, because I think I can split it to where it fits.
I take it out.
Well, the one thing I would have appreciated is somebody talk to me about this first, because I did not move a line. I did not ask to move a line, and I was going to accept what the demographer did because the numbers matched.
And I know that's why I brought it up, to see, if that could work for you, and for, I'm gonna see why we're moving it if we don't. I know you're the voice of the Rams, and I know you want that the Rams in your district.
It's still not going to affect what's going to end up happening anyway, so
yeah,
it's not going to affect that. Trust me, it won't.
But just
I'm gonna
wanted to
see to
take
it
a
that it
look
won't.
at it. Just want to take a look at it. Why move it if we don't have to?
Yeah, I'll take
You
a look
moved,
at it, see.
half of Scott was moved out of my district, where I'm very, very strong. But times are changing and population's changing, and District 5 has a lot of construction and subdivisions coming up, and it's growing. And we're doing this for the future. I'm not doing it for me personally, or what I think or believe or don't believe. It's for the future. We hired this gentleman to do a job when he told me that was going to be my district. That's gonna be my district.
Yeah, I'm just saying my numbers are high and yours is lower. So, you know, maybe that precinct could go back to where, I think I'm at 2.7, I believe. And so you have room to.
Your mine is 2.7, I'm plus 2, I have more population than you. I'm at 27,597. You're at 26,299. I already have more than you.
Is that correct, Mr. Hefner?
Yes, you're at a -2, and 5 was at a +2 in round numbers.
Can,
you
well,
would-
we could still look at it, take a look at it and see how that will work. I mean, that's what we're here for and that's why we're discussing it.
Yeah, it looks like you could split, I mean, if the precinct was split at North Domain, it's still going to put you at it affects 1,000 people, so that's going to put your deviation in District 5 at a +6.7, and that would put District 1 at a -6.13, so you'd still have to have a swap off somewhere in order to rebalance those
Well, let's take a look at that and see how we could make that work. Yeah. Yeah, I'd like to make an amendment that we delay until we look at all opportunities to make that happen, because I really think
District
that it
5
should-
is not for a delay. District 5 will not vote for a delay. We've had plenty of time to discuss this. I will not vote for a delay.
we're still discussing and we're still making changes. We made changes today. Kate made changes, Hannah, and I would like to make a
So
change.
why don't you want Acadiana in your district?
I'm not saying I don't want it.
That's
It's-
what it sounds like to me.
I'm not saying I don't want it. I'm just saying that I
Oh, I
know
know
how
what
much
you're
you
doing,
love
but it ain't gonna
Acadiana
help.
High.
It ain't gonna help.
It
I'm gonna
has
still-
nothing to do with that.
I could move to Youngsville and still support Acadiana High.
Well,
It doesn't have to be physically in my district. My students go to Acadiana High. Okay? I will support that school till the day I die. I bleed green and gold. It doesn't have to physically be in my
Well-
district for me to support it, trust me.
Well, and I'm just gaining a lot of schools. I'm gaining LEO, I'm gaining Scott Middle, and then, you know, so that's why, the real reason why.
You realize for 9 years I've had 7 schools. I've supported 7 and helped 7 schools grow, so that would give you what, 6? 6 or 7 give you the same that I had, and your district would now encompass all of Scott. Scott would be represented by one person. It wouldn't be split anymore. And like I said, I've great support, but being from Judy's and to be supported like I was from Scott, that was pretty good. That was pretty humbling to be supported as much as I was. But I picked up a new area that I'm going to represent just as good. I'll represent kids from Acadiana, Lafayette High, and Como. I'll now have 3 high schools I'm representing with maybe the same amount of students in all 3, and it will not affect my support for Acadiana, I can promise you.
And I'm not saying that, you know, I support Acadiana as well. I'm not saying that you don't want to support Acadiana, but if we don't have to take Acadiana out of your district, why should we? And I'm just asking Mr. Hefner to look at it to see if we can do that. That's all I'm asking. I have the right to do that, just like everybody else. I'm making changes, and I would like that to
But if
see
my
that.
district is fine and District 5 says he's fine, then you cannot force anything on District 5.
I'm not forcing anything on you. We're 9 board members, and we're going to vote on this.
Well, let's
It's
vote.
not just Mary, and it's not
Let's vote.
just.
Let's vote.
Well, I have, yeah, so I'm asking Mr. Hefner to look at something, and I have the right to do that as board member.
Ms. LeBou, do you wish to make a motion and? Would you repeat it, please?
I made a motion that the board adopt the amended reapportionment Plan A as proposed, and Mr. Hefner came up and told you the proposed changes that we are trying to make. I think it was between 3 and 5 and
So that's
7
your
and 8.
motion?
That's the motion, yes, sir.
We have a second on that motion? Okay. I'd just like to make a comment, if I could. I don't know what the procedure is, pass you the gavel or something, but isn't one of the things that we And I haven't looked at this Scott division, but isn't one of the things that we try to do is to keep municipalities or subdivisions or areas whole? I mean, like.
Yes. Yeah, and also too, the board wanted to minimize the number of precinct splits as well.
Right,
So
right.
from the Plan 1, from that point forward, we've been working toward trying to use whole precincts to the greatest extent possible. Plan A amended just makes one additional precinct split between districts 3 and 4. So it's still a very efficient plan. To make the change with Acadiana is going to involve 2 additional precinct splits. You'd have to split precinct 32 and probably something along the lines of precinct 35 in order to make the numbers work.
Well, I just want a comment. I remember years ago, and it was not it didn't make for a good setup. Karen Crow was split. In fact, the first time I ran the Karen Crow Highway, 182 split Karen Crow in 2. Half of my family couldn't vote for me because they lived on the other side of 182, but they lived in the city limits of Karen Crow. And I just think personally, the more you can keep people, communities, and subdivisions whole, the better off we are.
Yeah, and generally you can accomplish that by using whole precincts to the extent that you can, because usually when they create those precincts, that's one of the things they're looking at. And what's great about this one is District 2 covers all that Karen Crow area now.
Yep.
So it's all put back together again.
Thank you, Mike. Any other comments from members of the board?
As we grow, we're going to have to make changes. I know we discussed 11 districts, and we could not do that because we were going to be mandated to have 3 minority districts, and we didn't have enough minorities to make that happen. And so we're going to continue to grow. Just think about 10 years from now, what that will look like, what those numbers will look like. So we may have to split precincts in the future. So we may want to get used to that idea to make it all work and balance out. And again, I was just asking you to take a look at it.
Sure. That's whatever the wishes of the board.
Yes, ma'am, Ms. LeBou.
I'd just like to thank Mr. Hefner for all his work and thank Ms. Mason. And the reason I brought up about the proposal is, you know, Como is basically in my front yard. I've been working with the administration very hard on some projects. So, you know, for me, I was heavily invested in that area because it is my neighborhood and I'm heavily invested in that school. So I appreciate Ms. Mason working with me on that, and that everybody consider the proposed amended plan. And that's the reason behind my proposed changes. And again, we're landlocked. We are developing, but we can't develop pretty much around the 2 areas that we swap. So that's, you know, the areas that we have are basically completely populated at this point. Thank you.
Any public comment on this motion? If not, I'll call for the vote, Madam Secretary. All right, motion carries. Next item on poll was 3.4, discussion on action concerning revision to the supplemental pay rate section 2022-2023 salary schedule for teachers, substitute bus drivers, supplemental pay. Yes, sir, Mr. Broussard.
Before we go to the next, Mr. Hefner on the question, when it's all said and done, could you individualize a print for each district?
Yeah, Mr. Broussard, what I'll do is update the maps and get those over to you, as well as individual district maps that we had before, and update the resolution.
Something that would be legible.
Right. Now, this will go into effect for qualifying for next year for your October election, and then you start representing these districts in January of '24. So until then, you do represent your current districts.
Okay, the chair would accept a motion concerning item 3.4. Ms. LeBouf?
I'd like to make a motion that the board approves the revision to the supplemental pay rate section of the 2022-23 salary schedule as proposed.
Thank you. Second by Mr. Latchley. Comments or questions from members of the board? Public, members of the public? I'm sorry. Yes, yes, ma'am. Come on up to the microphone.
I'd like to know what the proposed changes are. Yeah. What are the proposed changes?
Good evening. The proposed changes this year are currently adding the teachers who are on fully rostered giving up their planning period. So instead of teaching 6 out of 7 or 7 out of 8, they're teaching a full 7 out of 7 or 7 out of 8, that they will be paid their hourly rate. Also, we have added ESL paras with the special education paras, and the also clause that if any other para educator would fit the criteria, that they could submit for approval for review for that para to be paid. We have also added board drivers, full-time board drivers, contract drivers, and substitute drivers are now eligible for $15 for morning or afternoon for a double run if their schedule allows. We have also added in there, we have increased the rate for paras from $7.50 to $10 an hour after the 3.5 hours. We have also added any paraeducator who is substituting in a long-term position that is teaching a full rostered class, that they will receive a supplemental day rate of $105 per hour. Per day. Sorry about that. We're all volunteering. So $105 a day.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I do have a comment, though. I did send the school board members a note in June of this year, June 29th, about the salary for the certified and degreed substitute teachers. The salary is $80 right now per day. It's been like that for at least 13 years. So I'm asking, because at one time you gave the substitute teachers with the high school diploma a $15 per day raise. You gave the ones with the college degree a $10 per day raise, but you never gave the degreed and certified teachers a pay raise in at least 13 years. So I'm just asking that you might consider that. And I did send the letter in June 29th. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you. Any more public comment concerning this motion? Yes, ma'am.
Julia Reed, President, Lafayette Parish Association of Educators. First of all, I'd like to thank you for acknowledging that teachers' time has value, and that if planning doesn't get done at school, they should be compensated for having to do that at home. However, I do want to reiterate that we are the Lafayette Parish Association of all educators. Educators, we use that as an inclusive term, including counselors, ILs, and support professionals. And I had a lot of outreach from my counselor and IL members that they are being asked to substitute as well, and they would like this to be extended to them as well, because their jobs have to be done too. And when they're spending 3 and 4 hours a day in a classroom, 504 plans still have to get written. Children still need to be counseled. ILs still have to support teachers, and so they're feeling the pinch too. And so we want to make sure that they are acknowledged. So we'd like to see something extended to them as well as our paras that aren't ESPs, aren't SPED or ESL paras. They are substituting, and shout out to they are doing amazing jobs substituting. But the scope of their job is different when you're in a classroom all day with kids by yourself than it is being a para supporting kids under the supervision of a certified teacher. And we feel, and they feel, they should be also extended something too, because it is more difficult. And we would like to see just as the previous speaker too, we'd also like to see the substitute rates raised as well. It's gonna be hard to keep getting substitutes. I mean, I wouldn't go to school at the daily rate of pay that we pay them. I wouldn't do it. So we'd like to see those raised as well. We just want to see some equity. You gave a $15 an hour raise to SROs working after school events. That's a significant $45 an hour. Are they providing 3 times the value of a paraeducator who's substituting in a classroom? We just want to see some equity. Our main purpose is the education of students, and we want to educate the whole students, and after-school activities are very important, but the main thing is what happens during the school day. And so we'd like to see some equity in the compensation for those paras and other professionals having to go into the classroom and substitute. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments concerning the motion? If not, Ms. LeBoux?
I actually pulled the motion because I had a couple people reach out today. And so I wanted to clarify a few things. The first one, and I talked to Bob Hammonds, our attorney, I asked him to speak on this. There were a couple of emails about whether this could be retroactive to the beginning of the school year for teachers that have covered classes and or, anything that's been covered additionally, and people are asking whether we can go back to the beginning of the year. So I wanted him to explain why we could not.
Article 7, Section 14 of the Louisiana Constitution provides that public funds cannot be donated. Both the Attorney General and some court cases in Louisiana have held that retroactive payment of salary is a donation of public funds because you're paying them more than what you had offered or agreed to pay them in the first place for the same amount of work. So that's the reason why retroactive pay increases are not legal in the state of Louisiana, and why all pay increases need to be made prospective only.
Thank you. And I wanted to clarify, because I had this question as well, that it will go into effect tomorrow, correct? So if anybody is asked to, or qualifies within the, supplemental pay guidelines, that will be effective tomorrow. That's what prospective means. It will move forward prospectively from the time we pass it. Also, I had the question about, and Jennifer Gardner, I hope you can, if you don't mind speaking about this, Ms. Gardner, when or where can they access the process to get approval for para, pay?
So any parent that is not listed, the principal reaches out by email, just as they did to Holly Artigo, the director of special ed, in the same circumstance that was written last year, where they needed prior approval for certain special ed classes. The same thing would happen. The principal will email me and ask in advance, hey, we have this situation. That way we have documentation to print and attach to their pay sheet.
Thank you very much.
Any other comments from members of the board?
And Ms. LeBoux, this letter will be emailed to administration this evening. That's why it is already dated for September 14th.
Thank you very much. And I just wanted to clarify one more thing, if you don't mind, Mr. President. I had a question about some people were inquiring as if they were pulled away from their position to cover something, but it was during a period in which they were working anyway, but they were moved positions. Would this apply? And I wanted to clarify that this was meant to be supplemental. So if you're required to work, 7 periods out of 8 periods, and you're working 7 out of 8, but maybe in a different location, this is not meant to compensate that position, although Julia did bring up a good point, so maybe we will re-examine it. But this is meant to supplement those who are losing their ability to, or their time is being used when it is not specifically spelled out in their job description. So again, bus drivers that are picking up extra routes, thank you. Paras that are covering classrooms are taking up extra time, and teachers that are using their planning period to help our school system function. We just cannot appreciate you enough. We know $15 can't compensate what you're doing, but it's a start for us to let you know that what you do is valued, and we know your time is important. We know your job is important, and if this is what we can give in our budget right now, and just know that we know that it doesn't equal what you deserve, but it does equal our it's a show from us of the thanks that we have and the value, that we value what you do and we recognize it. Thank you.
Yes, sir, Mr. Centini.
To follow up on Ms. LeBeau, I want to thank whoever, I don't even know the man's name, but whatever the teacher at Charles Burke who was driving bus 536 for a couple of weeks, early in the morning and late in the afternoon, you were a lifesaver to a lot of Broadmoor and Edgar Martin and Lafayette High families. And I just want to thank you, and I'm really glad to see that we're going to be able to incentivize others of our employees to pick up these substitute routes. So thank you very much, whatever his name is.
Yes, ma'am.
And I know we have, I want to acknowledge Lisa Henderson, who really brought this issue to my attention, because we were just trying to figure out a way that we could encourage more drivers to pick up routes. So just want to thank her, and I know Ms. Starlin and Smitty are in the audience. So thank y'all for bringing this to our attention so that we could find a way to really encourage. I know that your plate is full, but the fact that you're helping us figure out a way to encourage drivers to extend that plate, we really appreciate it. Thank you.
If there are no other further comments, I'll call for the vote, Madam Secretary. Motion carries. That was the last item pulled. This meeting is adjourned.